The quantum fold generator hummed with an intensity that made Carissa's teeth ache. He'd been calibrating the device for 3 hours, trying to isolate the frequency that had haunted him for 15 years, the exact resonance of that night when he'd encountered something impossible on Kepler 442b. Dr. Carissa, we're detecting an unauthorized breach in the containment field. His assistant's voice crackled through the comm. Before Carissa could respond, reality itself seemed to fracture. 5 figures materialized in his laboratory, their bodies shimmering with bioluminescent scales that shifted between cobalt and emerald. They were humanoid, yet distinctly other, their pupils vertical slits, their movements possessing a fluidity that defied Earth's gravity. The tallest stepped forward. Carissa of Earth, we are the daughters of Salina, you knew our mother. The name hit him like a solar flare. Salina. He'd convinced himself she'd been a hallucination, a side effect of the atmospheric toxins on that distant world, but here stood living proof that she'd been real. That's impossible, Carissa stammered, his scientific mind struggling against the evidence before his eyes. I was on Kepler 442b for only 48 hours, 15 years ago. Even if your mother, even if Salina was pregnant, you couldn't possibly be. Our species experiences accelerated gestation and maturation, the second daughter interrupted, her voice carrying harmonic overtones that suggested communication beyond human hearing range. What takes your kind decades requires only months for the Dracari. I am Nyxara. These are my sisters, Zephyria, Crystalia, Umbrana, and Solara. Carissa's mind raced through the xenobiological implications. Accelerated cellular division would require an entirely different metabolic framework, perhaps based on exotic matter or dark energy interactions. Why are you here? And why now? Solara, whose scales glowed with an inner fire, moved closer. Her eyes, so like Salina's, held a desperate urgency. Our mother, Queen Salina of the 7th constellation, is in mortal danger. The Void Collective has developed a weapon that targets her unique quantum signature, a signature she shares with you. With me, Carissa felt the ground shift beneath his understanding of reality. Crystalia extended a hand, and a holographic projection bloomed in the air between them. The image showed Salina, older now, more regal, but unmistakably the woman who had saved his life all those years ago. She wore a crown that seemed woven from solidified starlight, and around her, a vast city sprawled across multiple dimensions, its architecture defying Euclidean geometry. When a Dracari bonds with another species, they exchange quantum entanglement at the subatomic level, Zephyria explained, her analytical tone reminding Carissa of his own lectures. You and our mother shared genetic material through a process your science would classify as horizontal gene transfer. This makes you uniquely vulnerable to the same weapon, but it also makes you the key to her survival. Carissa's throat went dry. What happened between your mother and me was, we crashed. She helped me survive. We spent one night talking about the stars, about the mathematics of interdimensional travel, he stopped, memories flooding back. They'd shared more than conversation. In his delirium from the crash, with toxins clouding his judgment, they'd found comfort in each other's presence. When he'd awakened the next morning, she was gone, and his rescue team had arrived. The Void Collective is a parasitic consciousness that consumes dimensional barriers, Umbrana said, her scales the color of deep space. They've been hunting the Dracari queens for millennia. Our mother has held them at bay through her mastery of quantum manipulation, but they've finally found her weakness, you. I don't understand, I'm just a physicist. Nyxara pulled out a device that looked like crystallized mathematics. This is a temporal marker. It's been tracking chronological disturbances around your location for the past 6 months. The Void Collective has been sending probes through time, trying to eliminate you at various points in your past. If they succeed, the quantum entanglement breaks, and our mother becomes vulnerable. The implications crashed over Carissa like a tsunami. So I'm not just a key to saving her, I'm the target. They're trying to kill me to get to her." "Precisely," Solara confirmed. "And they're close. We've detected multiple temporal convergence points coalescing around this facility. Within the next 3 hours, they'll launch a full-scale assault across 12 different timelines simultaneously." Cariss ran his hands through his hair, his mind already racing through possibilities. "Then we need to disrupt the temporal convergence. My quantum fold generator, if we can modify it to create a localized causality loop, we might be able to trap their probes in a recursive temporal paradox." Zephyria's eyes lit up with understanding. "You'd essentially create a time prison, forcing any attempts to alter your past to collapse into quantum foam before they can manifest." "Exactly. But I'd need access to exotic matter with specific properties: negative mass, tachyonic velocity, quantum-locked particles." Crystalia smiled, revealing teeth that gleamed like diamonds. "We brought exactly such materials from our mother's vaults. The Dracari have been manipulating exotic matter for thousands of your years." The 5 sisters moved with practiced efficiency, retrieving crystalline containers from dimensional pockets that shouldn't exist according to standard physics. As they laid out the materials, Cariss felt a familiar excitement, the thrill of pushing beyond the boundaries of known science. "There's something else you should know," Nyxara said quietly as they worked. "Our mother never stopped thinking about you. In Dracari culture, the sharing of quantum essence is considered a sacred bond. She couldn't return to you without endangering Earth. The Void Collective would have followed her, but she watched over you from across the dimensional boundaries." Cariss's hands trembled as he integrated the exotic matter into his generator's matrix. "Why didn't she tell me? Why didn't she warn me about all this?" "She tried," Umbrana said softly. "Those dreams you've had, the ones where you see impossible cities and hear music in frequencies humans can't perceive, those were her messages, filtered through the quantum entanglement. But the human brain isn't equipped to process cross-dimensional communication clearly." The pieces of his life suddenly rearranged themselves into a new pattern. The inexplicable intuitions that had guided his research, the mathematical insights that came to him in dreams, the feeling that he was always reaching toward something just beyond his grasp. It had all been Salina, trying to reach him across the void. "Generators ready," Cariss announced, pushing aside the emotional turbulence. "But this will only protect me. What about your mother?" Solara stepped forward, her scales blazing. "Once you're secure, we can use your quantum signature as an anchor point. We'll create a resonance cascade that will amplify your entanglement with our mother, making her signature indistinguishable from yours. The Void Collective won't be able to target her without simultaneously targeting you, and you'll be protected by the causality loop. Basically, you'll become her living shield," Zephyria added. Cariss looked at the 5 sisters, his daughters he realized with a shock. They stood before him, products of a union he'd barely understood, willing to risk everything to save their mother. His mother, their queen. "How long will the protection last?" "If we're successful, permanently," Crystalia said. "The causality loop will become self-sustaining, continuously reinforcing itself across all possible timelines." An alarm shrieked through the laboratory. "They're here," Nyxara announced, her body tensing for combat. "Temporal breach points opening in multiple locations." "Start the generator," Cariss ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The quantum fold generator roared to life, reality bending around it like light around a black hole. Through his laboratory's windows, Cariss saw temporal rifts opening, wounds in the fabric of spacetime through which writhed entities that hurt to look at, beings of pure negation that consumed light and matter with equal hunger. The 5 sisters formed a defensive perimeter, their bodies erupting with energy that Cariss's instruments couldn't properly measure. They fought with a grace and ferocity that was almost beautiful, tearing through the Void Collective's probes with controlled bursts of directed entropy. The generator reached critical resonance. Carice felt at the moment the causality loop engaged, a sensation like being everywhere and everyone simultaneously. Through the quantum entanglement, he felt Salina's presence, vast and ancient and impossibly distant, yet closer than his own heartbeat. Carice, her voice echoed through dimensions, "Thank you." The Void Collective's assault collapsed, their probes disintegrating as they encountered the temporal paradox. The rifts sealed themselves, reality reasserting its integrity. In the sudden silence, Carice looked at his 5 daughters. "What happens now?" Nyxara smiled. "Now you come meet your queen. Our mother has waited 15 years to see you again, and there's so much she wants to show you, entire universes of wonders that await across the dimensional boundaries." Carice thought of his life, his research, his place in human society. Then he thought of Salina, of the bond they shared that transcended space and time itself, of the 5 extraordinary beings before him who called him father. "Lead the way," he said, stepping toward the impossible.